باللينك بالظبط. جاهزة معاكي الموبايل؟ معاكيش انترنت صح؟
Are you sure ان كل الناس هنا؟
يس. ابعت لرنا. انا عايزه ابعته لماما وبابا.
مش هتعرف تحكي.
ايوه هم كده كده نايمين.
I'm in 11 because I skipped. Yes, yes. Yes. Oh, wait. Which compound? No, I was like all right? It's like trying to be fun. Stop! What are you doing? How'd you get I remember, oh my god. I got it just looks smaller. No. Alright guys, that's you. You look amazing. Oh, this settings you so much. It's like I have in mind, even better. Alright, so good afternoon everyone, and thank you for being here. This recital, of course, as you can see, is a little bit different than my normal concerts or recitals. It's a smaller, more intimate, and more special. It's very special to my heart. Today's event is dedicated to 12 of my advanced students. They have reached a very proficient or advanced level in their musical journey. Reaching the stage is no small achievement. It takes discipline, patience, curiosity, and real love for music. So parents, you should be very, very proud. Your children have worked incredibly hard to be here, and I just personally love how each one of them has their own special style and flavor of playing. Today's theme is classical music through time. We will travel together from the elegance of the Baroque era to the clarity of the classical period, to the depth and emotion of the Romantic era, all the way to the colors and freedom of the modern era. Each student will perform pieces that reflect a unique music style, giving us a chance to hear how music has evolved over 100 years. Yet, it still touches us all the same way. My hope is that you feel the warmth of this room, the effort behind every note, and the joy of seeing your children grow, not only as pianists, but as thoughtful, expressive musicians. Thank you for supporting their journey, for encouraging their practice, and for being here to celebrate their achievements. A quick thank you to Mrs. Aya Rushdie, who made this event possible by renting this room for us. And many thanks to the team from the compound, Jaffa and Qasim, for the arrangements. And I cannot forget my friend, Abu Khalid, who is always supporting with graphics and media, and who will be recording the recital today. Let's all enjoy this beautiful afternoon together. Baroque.
When composers love drama, functionality, and big contrast, soft moments, loud voices. A fun fact is that the word girl comes from the term meaning art square, which fits the era's predictory over the folk style. So the Baroque era started around the 1600s, and along with it introduced like forms of musical entertainment such as the opera, and it ended around 1750. And the classical composer Joseph Bach died around that period, so it was kind of the end of the era. It was one of the most pivotal and dramatic points of musical history, and it started in Rome and Italy and then slowly spread throughout the entire Europe. This is when opera really took off in instruments like the vibraphone and the stars. Some of the most famous composers from this time were Bach, Handel, Vivaldi, and Poussin. They wrote music so good that people still perform it. Now, Baroque music is mainly known for its specific characteristics, such as ornamentation, terse dynamics, and the rise of tonality. Musical forms like the concerto, the fugue, and as I said before, opera, it was a staple of the Baroque period. And even though the majority of the songs that we hear now is played on the piano didn't exist back in the Baroque period. What existed was the harpsichord, which actually you could only either play really loudly or really softly. So the music couldn't be expressed throughout the sound. So instead, the composer had to get creative in his ornamentation and specific technique to really bring the piece to life. And so the Baroque period essentially formed what came next, which was the classical period.
introduction about the piece. The Cuckoo by the King is a cheerful Baroque piece that imitates the sound of a cuckoo bird. It uses quick repeating patterns to make the music feel playful and lively. Because of its bright melody and fun Baroque call effect, it has become one of the King's most known and most enjoyable pieces to listen to.
Classic.
The classical music era, also known as the Age of Reason, referred to the post-Baroque and pre-Romantic era of music, composed between 1750 and 1830, which covers the development of the classical symphony and concerto. Music moved away from the heavier, more complex style of the Baroque period and focused more on balance, simple, and elegance. Classic music era was characterized by emphasized elements of drama and surprise, dynamic changes, and gradual changing of moods.
During this era, the harpsichord was gradually replaced by the forte piano, which was an early version of the modern piano. This new instrument allowed for dynamic contrast, so players could finally form in their pieces as both loud and soft, something which was impossible with the harpsichord. The shift transformed composition and performance, inspiring keyboard and works, and helping the piano become a central instrument in European music.
Famous composers of this time include Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven, who are often grouped together as the first famous school. They have developed new musical forms such as symphony, sonata, and string quartet. While non-pieces for this era include Mozart's Symphony No. 40 and Beethoven's Symphony No. 5.
Their relationship ranged from friendly admiration to creative tension. Haydn and Mozart had a warm, respectful friendship. Beethoven briefly studied with Haydn, but found their partnership challenging. And although Mozart and Beethoven never formally met as adults, Beethoven deeply admired Mozart's genius. The period is also filled with fun anecdotes and rumored rivalries. Most famously, the supposed feud between Mozart and Antonio Salieri, which was greatly exaggerated by later storytellers.
Music from the classical era usually has clear musical lines, a steady rhythm, and a well-organized structure, which is a single melody with a light accompaniment. Overall, the classical era shaped the foundation of Western music by creating a clear and balanced style that still continues to influence composers and listeners too.
In the middle of 18th century, Europe began to move in a new style in architecture, literature, and the arts generally. Next of classicism, the new style was also pushed forward by changes in the economic order and in social structures of the land.
romantic. Romantic.
Romance, also known as the Romantic era or the Romantic period, was an artistic, literary, and intellectual movement that originated in the second half of the 18th century in Europe. In part, it was a revolt against the aristocratic, social, and political norms of the age of humanity, and a reaction against scientific rationalization of nature. Romanticism was embodied most strongly in the visual arts, music, and literature.
Beethoven and Schubert bridged the gap between the classical and romantic periods of music. Just as one might assume from the word romantic, this period took classical music and added overwhelming amounts of imagination, intensity, and expression. As the period develops, composers gradually let go of heavily structured pieces and gravitated towards drama and emotion. Romantic music focused on the meaning and purpose behind the music, and its main objective was to get an emotional reaction from its audience.
The Romantic era of piano music took place roughly between 1820 and 1900, and was a time when composers focused on strong emotions and personal expression. The piano became much more powerful and flexible, allowing musicians to play with very soft and very loud songs. Composers like Chopin, Liszt, Schubert, and Brahms were pieces with rich melody and exciting rhythm that left only showed feeling. Because of new improvements to the piano, musicians could create music that felt more romantic and musical.
One composer from this era was Chopin, who wrote almost exclusively for the piano, and his music could sound like he was telling a story or painting a picture. Chopin preferred small, quiet gatherings, and wrote music that was beautiful and poetic. Tchaikovsky created ballets like Swan Lake and The Nutcracker, composing music that could make people imagine fairy tales coming to life. Liszt was a piano virtuoso who played so fast and powerfully that it felt almost like a racecar speeding across the keys, and audiences would applaud in amazement after almost every piece. This phenomenon was later called Listomania. Music in this era was all about passion, creativity, and incredible talent.
Cecilia, by Gabriel Fauré, is a gentle and graceful piece that many people recognize for its calm closure. Fauré wrote it in the late 1800s, and it was originally created for a curve before becoming a popular sound. The music has a smooth, dance-like rhythm that makes it feel peaceful and elegant. Even though it sounds simple, the piece is full of emotion, showing Faurè's talent for writing music that is both beautiful and expressive. Interestingly, Cecilia at first was not written for piano at all. It was created for orchestra, and later arranged for different instruments, including piano and cello. Fauré is known for his ability to write music that sounds simple but is full of emotion, and Cecilia is a great example. Even though the piece is calm, it still has a sense of movement and storytelling. Today, it remains one of Faurè's most famous works, with its beauty, charm, peaceful mood, and graceful sense.
Impressionism came from the Impressionist visual arts movement, where many composers, including Claude Debussy, disliked the rhythm. Impressionist composers were influenced by the exotic, incorporating elements from Asian, Japanese, and Middle Eastern music into their compositions. They especially admired Japanese woodblock prints and incorporated elements of Japanese music and aesthetics into their works. Impressionist music often sought to depict scenes of nature, including landscapes, water, gardens, and the changing of seasons. The most significant composers from this era are Claude Debussy and Maurice Ravel. Claude Debussy, born in 1862 and died in 1918, is considered the father of musical impressionism. He was more interested in evoking a feeling than telling a story. His most famous piano piece is Clair de Lune. Maurice Ravel, born in 1875 and died in 1937. His music is known for being more structured and polished. His most famous piano piece is Gaspard de la Flûte. Impressionism changed the course of Western music by liberating composers from the strict rules of harmony and rhythm.
Eric Satie was an eccentric French composer known for his minimalist style, humorous and strange habits like only eating white food, creating his own religion, and developing the concept of intelligence. Eric Satie was considered a composer whose music falls within an influenced impressionist era through his eccentric and unconventional style. His most extreme piece only lasts a few bars, yet the manuscript instructs that the notes be repeated 840 times. He added the advice, it would be advisable to compel oneself to follow in the deepest silence by serious influences. The first complete performance, organized by John Cage, required 11 points and ran for 18 hours and 40 minutes. Performers say the line resists memorization, forcing constant sight reading and listeners to find themselves unable to have it even after several hours of prayer. After his death, friends entered his tiny school. In one locked room, they found hundreds of identical black umbrellas. In another, they saw two pianos stacked on top of one another. He played the lower as an instrument, and he used the upper as a covered under.
traditional modern musical melodies, they experiment with intense harmonies, new scales, unusual rhythms, and personal features. The piano came not only a melodic instrument but also a tool for color, atmospheric, and striking and building atmosphere. Different movements shaped this era. Debussy and Ravel introduced Impressionism, focusing on tone, color, and religious history and structure. Rachmaninoff continued the Romantic spirit, adding modern intensity and technical brilliance. Here, composers like Conte and Fortov created rough rhythms and bold harmonies, while mechanists such as Philip Glass created quiet patterns and style. Modern piano music advances past the weird instrument and creates reflex curiosity, creative and creativity. Two very famous composers from the modern era are Igor Stravinsky and Hans Zimmer. Stravinsky, best known for the Rite of Spring, changed the way composers write music. Hans Zimmer, one of the biggest names in modern music, is the composer behind extremely popular movie soundtracks, such as The Lion King, Interstellar, and the F1 movie. Zimmer uses a mix of traditional instruments and new technology to produce music recognized in all concerts. These composers are only two in many who helped shape modern music to what it is known as today.
Like many aspects of modern culture, modern music has evolved in many different directions. In general, the most common element among the various types of what can be called modern music is the element of experimentation. Modern music is defined by a bold break from traditional rules of harmony and form. Composers started exploring new sounds including atonality, unusual scales, complex rhythms, electronic instruments, and innovative textures. This era introduced influential movements such as Impressionism, Expressionism, Surrealism, Minimalism, jazz-influenced classical music, and electro-acoustic music, all driven by desire to push boundaries and reshape listeners' expectations.
Well done, everyone. I know how much courage it takes to be on stage or playing in front of so many people. So I'm so proud of you, each and every one of you. Well done. Even if you have made some mistakes, that's completely normal. I do the same. So it's totally fine. Well done, everyone. Please have a nice round of applause for yourself. I'm very proud of you. So before we end today's recital with Ahmed playing his final piece, I would like to dedicate this final song called Someone You Loved to someone I loved teaching for 6 wonderful years, Zoe Vesper. Our kind of love is the love of mentorship, the pride in every achievement, the joy of watching a young musician grow, and the bond that forms through shared moments at the piano and among my family. Zoe has filled my teaching journey with kindness, and a beautiful spirit that touched everyone around her. As she returns back home, she carries with her not only her music, but also many cherished memories that we have together. She will always be a part of my teaching journey and my family, and I hope she knows how deeply she has inspired me through the years. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. I hope you had a nice afternoon. And I hope to see you in future concerts and future events. And once again, I'm so proud of each one of you. I loved every performance today. Thank you again for being here. Can I have a group picture with everyone? Yes? We did it! عالم الروقان
Moving on, she's going to New Zealand. You want to come back? Sure. It's a little fun. Yeah, it's like, it takes us maybe 26 hours to get on. Thank you so much. Yes, it's been that long. Yeah. Took 6 days. It's a nice place. Also, yeah, we at work. Okay. So we went up in, actually up in okay. Yeah. Right, we stopped on it. She's like, there we stop. Perfect. No, we don't have a picture. Where is Zoe? Oh, damn it! Well done. Thank you. يلا عقبالك الناس وتلعب. إن شاء الله. شكرا يا عليا. Thank you for everything.
Zoe, come and take a photo. Yeah, I'm just getting my stuff.
You know I love
Zoe's here.
And she's taking her time.
Take your time.
Oh, waiting for you.
We found her. We're doing it.
Thank you for coming.
Did you know this was going to be a video? I would like to potty and check up it.
المرة اللي جاية هنطيها هدف هنطيها هدف إن شاء الله.
This is whose phone? Your mom's. This is your mom's.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We want to see her. I want to see her.
Yeah, before we got that.
So we're gonna be, we leave on the 18th. So anytime in December. Yeah.
I don't
Come back
know.
on the 8th of January.
No more, no more. There's no more.
Yeah, we leave on the 19th. I bet we come back.
And then she leaves late.
She has 1 week.
Okay, no, so it's preferably before I leave.
Okay.
Before,
Yeah.
just in case 1 week.
Yeah.
I have to see her before she goes.
Okay, well, just let us.
I'll let you know. I can still keep her Thursday timing. We can do something fun. Doesn't have to be a class.
Yeah, it's up to you guys.
Sure. I'll figure it out.
And they will. Okay, thank you. Want a picture? You want a picture? Okay. Yeah. I want a picture. Yes, show the. You actually, I didn't hear a single mistake. It's just fit. Chocolate things, just for sake. Right. How we go bowling? How we